I walked into the kitchen and sat down at the table. I looked with a grimace at the questionable meal Lois had placed in front of me. Of course, I'd never tell her how disgusted I was with her cooking, but somehow I think she knew. Lois had always been full of energy and life, but lately I had begun to grow more aware of her aging. The bright, exuberant eyes that I had fallen in love with were now beginning to grow dull and listless with the long fatigue of a weary life.
I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out.
Family, welcome to the first Irvington Unbound, the online newsletter of the SheridanStBA Block Association of 2019. I'm your host and district leader, Jay, the official elected official. And the hope is 2019 has begun on a high note for you and your loved ones. Let's talk some news. And we'll begin with show news. Cannabis will no longer lead off the show. There seems to be a stalemate in Trenton, so coverage is pointless and redundant until at least a vote's set. We did great work last year getting our concerns to the forefront and getting provisions for Irvington and communities like ours into the legislation, so ultimately we achieved a really big goal. Maybe a little too well. Hey, other orgs, once again, leave race out of it. Focus on the geography. The race angle only builds resentment. In block news, shout out to the DPW. At the behest of Brother Cruz, they came out and trimmed the trees, so hopefully there are fewer falling branches during the inclement weather. Also, big shout out to the IPD on the empty house situation. Great work on that front. As for what's next, there's the end of the block that could use at least a paint job. It was brought to our attention, so we're on it. Locally, everything got moved up. The director/council meets are 24 and a half hours earlier in 2019. Instead of Tuesdays at 7, the fun begins on Mondays at 6:30. So my slow ass rolls up at 7 to a decent sized crowd. Caught a brother complaining about living conditions, aka the 23% poverty rate. In 2019, the term living conditions is going to replace the Captain Planet-like combination of trash, vacants, and vagrants. Complaints that come with every episode, like a toy and a kid's meal. The council meeting featured multiple quit deed claims, which transfers property from entity to another entity. Meaning, on paper, properties are moving, but what becomes of these places is anyone's guess. The manager of the property at the end of the block spoke of the frustrating red tape that he and his employers have had to endure dealing with the municipality. Not a big surprise, Irvington is literally designed to make boiling water a 52-point process that requires you to deal with someone who has a problem that you didn't create. Sandy J dropped that snap flyer that may or may not have come across the screen by now. For about 15 seconds, she forgot who she was talking to and went on a little Trump derangement syndrome tantrum. Remembering that I'm a guy that realizes she's been in office longer than he has, and during her entire tenure the poverty rate has ballooned, she pivoted to someone else and slid happily back into her little bubble, as I was happy to see her go. Look, I've said this a million times on this show, and I'm about to say it again. I have no interest in someone who's been in office longer than Trump complaining about the man, particularly seeing how if our local governments were on point, the federal situation wouldn't be the pressing concern it is. But we'll get to the shutdown in a moment. In state news, Governor Murphy dropped his first State of the State address, with his two major points being cannabis and the $15 minimum wage, along with even more gun control. No mention of the pension and taxes, but it's been said he'll address such things in his budget address, reportedly taking place next month, as a new report is predicting a shortfall of the governor's 2018 budget. Big freaking shock. A new smoking ban took effect, so if you want to burn one outside, I suggest the moon, because virtually all public spaces are off limit. Katie Brennan is suing everyone despite a little thing called a conviction missing, but hey, Me Too has made a big enough ass out of itself. Why stop now? In national news, there are women marches being canceled like hotcakes as allegations of anti-Semitism ring towards organizer Tamika Mallory. Gillette released a video that pissed off every Y chromosome in existence, and if you care more about Trump serving a football team fast food than the withdrawal from Syria, you are part of the problem. As I am writing this, there are reports of an attack going on in Syria, so, we'll see where that lands. But since the last episode of Unbound, President Trump did announce a troop withdrawal, which Being an anti-war hippie that I am, I consider a good thing, but industry always wins. So a troop withdrawal one place likely means occupation elsewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called The Other Shoe, and I promise you, it's going to drop more often than not. The best bet is never taking anything at face value. Some call it being a cynical asshole, some call it being smart. ABC is reporting that the Mueller investigation can't find that connection between Trump and Russia that I'm positive some of you just know is there, because the media told you it was, but I digress. The shutdown continues, and this isn't looking great for the blue team, of which I am a part. Trump asked for less than a percentage point of the budget to fulfill a campaign promise. What the completely unoriginal Democratic Party is doing is reciprocating that same petty, destructive, and nonsensical energy the Red Team unleashed during the Obama administration. It wasn't right then, and it's not right now. And that's how independents, who outnumber Red and Blue Team, see it, which is why the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to defend. Particularly when there's video that exists of every major voice, including Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer, agreeing with everything Trump says when it comes to illegal, once again, illegal immigration. Dem contenders for president have begun throwing their names in the ring. Christian Gillibrand, Julian Castro, Tulsi Gabbard's fine ass, you peep that cute little streak in the hair like Rogue from the X-Men, John Delaney, and Richard Ojeda. While the likes of Elizabeth Warren, Mike Bloomberg, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, and Kamala Harris all wait in the wing. Remember, local, school board, primary, general, all elections taking place. Let's be ready, guys. Internationally, Britain voted to keep Theresa May as PM by the skin of a cat after the disaster that has been the Brexit negotiations. The Yellow Vest protests in France rage on, during the weekends primarily because they still need to cut the check. To my Caucasian family, please stop trying to hitch through the Middle East to show that we can all love each other and love conquers all. Please, the world just don't work that way. Come on, guys. Be smarter than that. So, with that being said, new show alert. 3 questions with the Irvington Municipal Council. It should premiere after the next episode of Unbound, and if you can't guess the premise through the title, get off my channel. You don't understand a word I say. If you have any questions for the council, please drop them in the comments or on a thread or email. Thank you so much for putting up with me. Please, internet stuff, if you will. Like, sub, share, speak. Big shout out to the BitChute and Gab fam. You don't care about Irvington, you're here for my buttery voice, and I appreciate that. I'm Jay, the official elected official, and until the next video, love.